Hi everyone and welcome back. Okay, so I've got a very quick, loose, impressionistic watercolour for you today. And when I say quick and loose, I really mean it. It took me all of 15 minutes to do this little painting here. I'm working on an A4 piece of watercolour paper. I'm actually testing out some new paper here. This is White Knight's paper, and I'll be doing a full review of this very soon, so stay tuned for that. Now the scene that I'm actually painting is purely from my imagination. I just literally made it up as I went along. I just decided to drop a fairly sort of flat layer of ultramarine and yellow ochre in there for the sky. Like I say, even at this stage, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I just thought I'd throw some colours down on the paper and just take it from there, see what happens. I sort of had a rough idea in my mind of the type of scene that I wanted to paint. Something sort of late autumn, early autumn, a little bit misty background, trees, little path leading into a scene, a few little trees either side. Just something very simple. When you're working from your imagination, particularly for me, I can't get too complicated with it. I usually have to work from a reference photo, follow along with that. But if you keep these, very loose, sort of imaginative paintings, very simple, you tend not to go too wrong with them. The more complicated you get with them, the more chance you've got of just messing up because you haven't got a reference to refer to. But I do love doing this type of painting. I do a lot of these actually in my own sort of spare time. I've started to film the odd one or two for Patreon. This one's actually on Patreon as a full lesson, even though this video is sped up and there's a voiceover. Over on Patreon you'll see it all in real time, and it's all narrated in real time as well. Now the approach that I'm taking with this painting is totally different to what I usually do. Usually I work with sort of a pencil and wash method. I've got a lot of pencil lines down there to follow along with. With this one, I've got nothing. Like I said, I'm just making it up as I go along. So I'm really sort of working in a different way to what I'm used to. Usually I work in very thin glazes, building up the layers slowly. Fairly tight sort of painting style usually, but this one is very loose and very impressionistic as well, I guess. There's not really a lot I can say about it. Usually, like I say, I'm following along with a reference and I can kind of talk about that as I'm painting. But I literally am just responding to what's happening on the paper. The paper's still wet, as I'm applying the paint, and it's diffusing out really nicely. And as I'm getting all of these nice soft edges, that's kind of guiding me along in itself, really. I'm sort of getting this nice sort of misty background to the trees. For the most part, even though I've got a very funny shaped tree there on the right hand side, sort of a flat, hard top to it. But that's the beauty of these paintings. You just let the paint do its thing, and if these sort of hard edges happen, they happen. If you get a soft edge, you get a soft edge. It doesn't matter. You just work with it. You just try and adapt things in the painting just to try and make them work as best they can. And at the end of it, you can end up with a really nice, kind of relaxed looking, loose painting. So now the paper's drying out a little bit more, I can now use a dry brush technique to get some different textures that'll really contrast well with the soft misty background and the soft edges of the other trees there. So that in itself is going to, I guess, give me more of a stronger focal point. So that tree there on the right hand side, I decided at this stage that was going to be the focal point. Again, just keeping it really simple. But as long as I've got those hard edges from the dry brush there, it's always going to pop against the soft background and just automatically, become the focal point. So at this stage of the painting, the composition is basically formed. That's it. What you see there, I'm just going to build upon now, adding small areas of detail, a few little darker tones and things like that, just to bring areas out a little bit more. But it's like I say, it's just a very, very quick and simple painting. And doing paintings like this when you're testing out new paper is always a good idea. You don't want to spend hours and hours on a really complicated scene on a piece of paper that you're just not used to working on. So doing these quick wet into wet and using dry brush techniques as well, very quick paintings of this style can really kind of show you, how the paper is going to behave for both wet in wet, dry brush, detail. Is it going to buckle a lot? You've got all of those things to kind of sort out, when you're using new paper. So really that's the idea, behind this painting. I mean, if this painting style isn't for you and you prefer something a little bit more detailed and not quite so loose, have a look through my YouTube channel. There's lots of pencil and wash style paintings there, which are a lot more detailed and a lot tighter, not quite so loose as this, where I use a totally different approach to my watercolours. And all of the videos that you see on my YouTube channel from about the last 3 or 4 years, they're all lessons over on Patreon. Graphite landscapes, watercolour birds. I've even got a section over on Patreon specifically for beginners called Sketchbook Corner, and there's a dedicated beginners section there as well. So there's plenty over on Patreon for you. But if you want to get a quick taster of it, just to see what it's like over there, if you have a quick look down the videos on my YouTube channel, you'll see the style of paintings and drawings that I do. And like I say, if they're for you, just pop along to my Patreon channel, see what that's all about. It's only £3.50 a month, that's all it is. Loads and loads of projects over there for you, way too many to mention in this video. I think there's well over 700 videos over there for you to watch. Okay, so I'll just let you watch the last few minutes of this painting as I'm just putting the finishing touches on it. I'd love to hear your comments about this one. But anyway, thanks very much for viewing, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.